You're poisoning your day before it even starts. Every single morning. And you don't even know it. You wake up, your eyes open, and within seconds, maybe minutes, you do something that guarantees the next 12 hours will be reactive, scattered, and exhausting. Ibn Arabi called this the morning poison. Not a substance, not a food, but a behavior. A single action that floods your nervous system with stress hormones, fragments your attention, and puts you in survival mode before you've even gotten out of bed. And the worst part? You think it's harmless. You think it's just checking in, just staying connected, just getting a head start. But it's not. It's sabotage. And until you stop doing this in the first hour of your day, you'll never experience what real productivity feels like. Let me describe your morning. You wake up. Maybe an alarm. Maybe naturally. Your eyes open. And within seconds, your hand reaches for your phone. Before you've stretched. Before you've taken a conscious breath. Before you've decided anything about who you want to be today. You grab your phone. And you check messages, emails, social media, news, whatever notification is waiting. And in that moment, in those first few minutes of consciousness, you've just destroyed your entire day. Because here's what just happened in your brain. You went from a deep, restful, internal state to a hyperstimulated, external, reactive state in seconds. Your nervous system, which was calm, is now flooded with cortisol. Your attention, which was whole, is now fragmented into a dozen different directions. Your energy, which was yours, now belongs to everyone who sent you a message, posted an update, or created content designed to grab you. Ibn Arabi lived centuries before phones, before notifications, before the digital invasion of every waking moment. But he observed the same pattern. He watched people wake up and immediately give their attention to external demands. Servants rushing in with problems. Merchants arriving with urgent news. Family members presenting needs. And he noticed something. The people who allowed this, who let the external world flood in before they had centered themselves, spent their entire day in chaos, reactive, scattered, exhausted, never in control, always responding, always behind. But the people who protected their first hour, who created space between waking and engaging, who took time to center themselves before facing the world, those people moved through their day with clarity, with focus, with energy that lasted, not because they had fewer responsibilities, but because they didn't poison their morning. So what's the poison? It's giving your attention away before you've claimed it for yourself. It's letting other people's priorities become your priorities before you've even decided what your priorities are. It's flooding your system with information, problems, demands, and stimulation before your mind and body are ready to process it. And your phone is the delivery system. The moment you pick it up, the moment you check anything, you're telling your brain that the external world is more important than your internal state, that other people's needs matter more than your own, that being reactive is more valuable than being intentional. Your brain learns fast. And every morning you repeat this pattern, you're training your brain that this is how the day works. You wake up. You react. You respond. You let the world dictate your attention. And your brain stops even trying to be intentional. It goes straight into survival mode, scanning for threats, jumping between inputs, never settling, never focusing, never truly productive. Ibn Arabi said something that sounds simple but is actually profound. He said the first hour of the day is like the foundation of a house. If the foundation is weak, nothing you build on top of it will stand. You can work hard all day. You can try to focus. You can push through exhaustion. But if your morning foundation is poisoned, everything you build collapses. Think about how you feel on days when you don't check your phone first thing. Maybe you were camping. Maybe your phone died. Maybe you deliberately left it in another room. How did those mornings feel different? You probably felt more present, more calm, more in control. Your thoughts were clearer. Your energy was steadier. The day felt more manageable. That's not coincidence. That's your nervous system functioning the way it's designed to. Waking gradually. Transitioning smoothly from rest to activity. Maintaining the calm, focused state that allows for deep work, creative thinking, and sustained energy. But most mornings, you don't give yourself that gift. You jolt your system awake with digital stimulation, with problems, with comparisons, with bad news, with other people's highlight reels. And your body responds the way it's designed to respond to threats. It releases cortisol. It triggers your sympathetic nervous system. It prepares you for danger. And you spend the rest of your day trying to calm down from a stress response you triggered in the first 5 minutes of being awake. Here's what cortisol does. It's your stress hormone. It's designed to help you respond to threats. Fight or flight. Survival mode. And when you check your phone first thing in the morning, when you flood your brain with information it's not ready to process, your body releases cortisol. Not a small amount. A significant spike. Because your system interprets that flood of information as a threat, as something you need to respond to immediately. And cortisol doesn't just fade away. It stays in your system for hours, affecting your mood, your focus, your decision-making, your energy. That afternoon crash you experience? That's not because you need more coffee. That's cortisol exhaustion. Your body has been in stress mode since you woke up. And by afternoon, it's depleted. Ibn Arabi observed this in a different context, but the pattern is the same. He watched people who started their day in chaos stay in chaos all day. Their energy never stabilized. Their focus never sharpened. They moved from one urgent thing to another, never getting to what actually mattered, never producing anything of real value, just reacting, all day, every day. And here's the trap. You think checking your phone first thing is being productive. You think you're getting a head start. You think you're being responsible by responding quickly. But you're not. You're sabotaging yourself. Because productivity isn't about reacting fast. It's about focusing deeply. And you can't focus deeply when your nervous system is flooded with cortisol and your attention is scattered across 20 different inputs. Real productivity comes from a calm, focused, intentional state. And that state is built in the first hour. Not later in the day when you try to force focus. Not after you've already poisoned your system. In the first hour, when your mind is fresh, when your energy is full, when you have the power to choose your state instead of letting the world choose it for you. So what do you do instead? How do you protect that first hour? First, you keep your phone out of your bedroom. Not on silent. Not face down. Out of the room. Because if it's within reach, you'll reach for it. It's automatic. You won't even realize you're doing it. But if you have to get up and walk to another room to get it, that creates space. That gives you time to choose. Time to ask yourself, am I ready to let the world in? Or do I need more time to center myself? Second, you create a morning ritual that's yours. Not for productivity. Not to optimize anything. Just to transition from sleep to wakefulness in a way that keeps you in control. Maybe it's stretching. Maybe it's sitting in silence. Maybe it's looking out a window. Maybe it's making coffee slowly and intentionally. It doesn't matter what it is. What matters is that it's internal. That it's not reactive. That it's you choosing how you want to feel before the world gets to make demands. Third, you delay the poison. You don't check your phone for the first hour. Not 30 minutes. Not even 45 minutes. The full hour. Because that hour is your foundation. That hour determines whether you spend the day in control or in chaos. And once you protect that hour consistently, you'll notice something. The things that felt urgent at 6 in the morning are rarely actually urgent. The messages can wait. The emails can wait. The news can wait. And by delaying your response, by staying in your own centered state for that first hour, you respond better when you do engage. Calmer, clearer, more effective. Ibn Arabi talked about this in terms of spiritual practice. But the principle applies to anything you want to do well. He said you can't pour from an empty cup. You can't give what you don't have. And if you start your day by giving your attention, your energy, your focus to everyone and everything except yourself, you have nothing left for the work that actually matters. Think about what you're trying to accomplish, the projects you want to complete, the goals you want to achieve, the life you want to build. All of that requires sustained focus, deep work, creative energy. And you can't access those states when you're in survival mode, when your nervous system is on edge, when your attention is fragmented, when you're reacting instead of creating. The first hour is where you build the capacity for everything else. It's where you establish your energy baseline, your focus foundation, your emotional stability. And if you poison that hour, you're building on quicksand. Everything you try to do after that is harder than it needs to be. Here's what happens when you protect your first hour consistently. Your baseline energy improves, not just in the morning, but all day. Because you're not starting from a cortisol spike. You're starting from calm. And calm energy sustains. Anxious energy depletes. Your focus sharpens. Because you're not training your brain to jump between inputs. You're training it to settle, to stay with one thing, to go deep instead of staying shallow. Your emotional state stabilizes. Because you're not flooding yourself with other people's problems, opinions, and emotional states before you've established your own. You get to choose how you feel instead of absorbing how everyone else feels. Your productivity actually increases. Not because you're working more hours, but because the hours you work are focused, deep, effective. You're not spinning your wheels. You're not reacting. You're creating, building, moving forward. And here's the surprising part. The world doesn't fall apart because you didn't check your phone for an hour. The urgent messages wait. The problems get solved. The news continues whether you read it at 6 or 7. But you're different. You're centered. You're in control. You're ready. Ibn Arabi watched people transform their entire lives by changing one thing. How they spent their first hour. Not by adding more. Not by doing more. But by protecting that time. By refusing to let the external world invade before they were ready. And the people who couldn't do this, who said they needed to check immediately, who claimed they couldn't afford to wait, those people stayed stuck. They worked hard. They stayed busy. But they never built anything lasting. Because they were always reacting, never creating, always responding to the urgent, never getting to the important. You can work 12 hours a day. You can try every productivity system. You can read every book on focus and time management. But if you poison your first hour every morning, none of it will work. Because you're building on a broken foundation, and everything you build will crumble. But protect that hour. Guard it. Treat it like the most valuable 60 minutes of your day. Because it is. It's the hour that determines all the others. It's the hour that sets your energy, your focus, your state. It's the hour that decides whether you spend the day in control or in chaos. The poison is optional. You're choosing it. Every morning. Without realizing you have a choice. But now you know. You know what it's costing you. You know what you're giving up. You know why your days feel the way they do. The question is, what will you choose tomorrow morning? Will you reach for the poison? Or will you protect the hour? Because that choice, that single choice, changes everything. Not someday, tomorrow, the very next morning. 1 hour, one choice. One foundation that everything else is built on. Ibn Arabi's secret wasn't complicated. It wasn't mystical. It was practical. Protect the first hour. Everything else follows from that. Your productivity, your peace, your power. It all starts in those first 60 minutes. Don't give them away. They're too valuable, and you'll never get them back.